decisions, and where the ultimate weapon is your mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please take your seats at this time as the program will begin momentarily.
Welcome, stranger. You've just broken the access code to this game. A game in which your destiny depends upon your own decisions, and where the ultimate weapon is your mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please take your seats at this time as the program will begin momentarily.
What the fuck?
What up, people?
What
This
up?
is Gen X and Beyond.
Who are you?
I am one of the co-hosts, I guess, Moking the Bowl.
And I'm only the lonely.
And you are the other co-host, Only the Lonely.
Not Gen X Dave, our host.
And our host is, well, missing at the moment.
Elon Musk
Oh.
says my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Nina Turner says pronouns are not a joke. Hilaria Bryden, Esquire, says knock knock. Candy Karen says who's there? There. Ha 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 ha.
So I guess you've heard what Jasmine Crockett said today, huh? Or Jasmine
Crockett?
Crockett.
No, Jasmine Cockett.
Jasmine Crackhead.
I say go ahead and use what other terms you want to make fun of people that are disabled, and just don't be mad when we point out that you're retarded.
I mean, but in some states, that's illegal. Just saying that.
What?
The R word.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Don't,
it is.
don't be retarded.
Yeah, it is.
Don't be retarded.
Yeah, it is.
It's it's still a legal medical definition in the entire country.
You can get taken in and wrote up at the cop shop. Get a ticket for it.
But sir, you're retarded.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm just it's a medical diagnosis, and I'm diagnosing you.
Awesome. I love being retarded.
Right? Hey, I take weed so that I can be retarded.
It's super duper
retarded. Yeah.
Totally.
So what's been up?
Oh, not much. Just, been playing my time killer.
Waiting for Dave to actually do a show. In which case he's still not. Hello, Dave.
Dave's not here, man.
The Lonely Mokin' Bull. And I'm about to dip out backstage because my bowl is empty. It's a travesty. I need to go find weed.
The bowl.
The bull.
The bowl. Okay, y'all. I guess I'm here by myself. And I'm sure they don't want me to load WoW up. So, I guess we can go in here. Well, y'all can't see, but go in here and Tom McDonald has a video dropping Friday. That's cool. There was a leak, apparently. Did you hear? Hey, Only's back. You mother.
Did you see what they found under the pyramids? It's not what they found. They actually found it in 2022, but they finally got their study and their science peer reviewed.
and that's crazy in itself. But
Dude,
before we talk about that, because that can get into a wormhole, let's talk about um the 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 leak.
the week.
The
That's
leak.
the leak. That's not a leak. That was fabricated.
I don't think it was fabricated, although
I think
I
it was
don't think
intentional.
it came. I don't think it revealed anything. You know,
No, it didn't. It didn't reveal anything else than when Trump said, "Oh, hell's going to break loose," and then they immediately shoot to the F-18s taking off from the aircraft carrier. Like
well,
that doesn't. That's not
that, but it that what
fair
leaked
with
out.
targets.
What leaked out was no names, no description of areas,
No,
no um organizations.
no. To me,
No,
arguing over whether or not that was a security leak is trying to cast shade on the real travesty that's in all that. Is they are now intentionally targeting civilian buildings as long as there's any single person of interest in that building.
I
So,
mean, or have any serious um
now 15 random
repeatable
civilians are dead.
instances to that building. And
We're,
I mean,
we're,
if
we're
they're
the most powerful,
associating,
precise country in the
are,
world.
aren't they associating themselves with bad people? So
No, not necessarily.
themselves
An
are
apartment,
bad
like
people.
if let's go back to the KKK. If you live in an apartment complex and the KKK rent an apartment, what the fuck are you going to do about it? You don't own the apartment. You live in a apartment. You don't have any right to say who else is there. Like there's no
Are they
accountability, man.
apartment buildings though?
I don't know. We went after the trend. Yeah, actually, they are apartment buildings, and there was 8 children
Well,
in that
the
apartment building.
Trinidad Raga
That
were taking
right.
over
Exactly,
buildings.
but did we blow up the
So,
buildings and kill all the civilians to get them out? No, we went
no,
in, we
we
took them by
didn't.
force, we took them out, and we made sure they were deported. That's what I'm saying. We're the most powerful country in the world when it comes to this kind of thing. We don't need to have collateral damage unless we want to. So why do we want to? Considering we've already said that is a war crime to intentionally kill unknown non-combatants is a war crime. So and what that leak did point out is that they were tracking this guy. They knew where he was. They could have blown him up at any instant, but instead they chose to wait until he was in a building and then they collapsed the entire building.
No boots on the ground.
No boots on the ground. They were tracking him the entire time. They could have lasered his ass and blew him up. Like the missile didn't. They didn't have to wait till he went into a building to blow him up. They could have blown him up right in his car. More to point, that's exactly how Trump did kill the last Arab guy that he killed in his first term. When he said, "Oh, they shot at our drones, so we killed their leader." Like it was a precision strike, very few civilian casualties. They didn't blow up an entire building. This is more an Israeli tactic: blow up the whole building, and whoever was in there, it's their own problem. They shouldn't hang out with terrorists.
Oh,
Like it's not very
I agree to
American.
that
Like
point.
if a bank robber runs into an apartment building or a hospital, we don't blow the whole fucking hospital up. But aside from that, and I want to know how much I paid for that bullshit.
32 cents.
Yeah, well, it's 32 cents I would rather spent on buying green to give to a homeless guy who hasn't been high in a month.
Okay, now about the 600 meters of spiral something.
We'll wait till Dave gets his ass back on here. He's sitting there fucking with his pot backstage. It's like, why aren't you on and on the phone? You having a chat?
Yeah, he is.
We're 10 minutes into your podcast, buddy. Come on.
But yeah, that gets into some like, how
It goes
did
back
it
to Tesla.
happen?
It really goes back to Tesla because, and I'll wait till he gets on back to his platform
Like,
here before we talk about that. But
you
it's
think
exactly
Tesla
what you expect to
would have
find.
gotten that down there
Yes.
and gotten out?
I knew they were down there. I've said they were down there. I've said all that shit was down there, and hundreds and thousands of people have said that's down there. There's a tablet, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, that were thought to be fiction because the original tablets are MIA. But it's basically the Hermetic text. You know, the philosopher Hermes. You remember learning
Right.
about Hermes? Yeah.
Right.
Well, Thoth is the godly, the spiritual other person or whatever that Hermes was supposed to be embodying. And he said that there's actually stairways that go to huge halls that are directly beneath the pyramids.
So
And
that's what those are stairways?
I think they could be used as a stairway, but I don't think they're stairways. There's 8 of them, and each one of them wrap perfectly around each of the hollow columns. Okay, so and what you'll find is those columns are
so ain't there 4 per pyramid?
here. Let's get a graphic of it up because there's plenty on here that we could throw up. So hang on a second.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So, but basically, they found 8 cylinders, perfectly circled cylinders that
Under one
go down
pyramid?
2 kilometers under one pyramid, but there's similar structures under all the pyramids. They're just making a big deal out of the one that they didn't even know about. And they found what looks like 5 of the king's chambers in the Khafra. I think it's the Khafra pyramid. They found 5 of the king's chambers in that one pyramid that they didn't know was there. And then directly beneath the pyramid, they found 8 columns, pillars that are hollow, and that they have some kind of exterior feature that looks like a spiral staircase going around each of them. All right, and I've seen this I've literally watched about a dozen videos on this because it's
Interesting.
yeah, it's
say the least.
interesting, and it goes. Tesla had an idea what the pyramids are, and there's a lot of people that have backed it up and said, "Yeah, we agree. This is exactly what it is." And now this supports it. And Thoth, like I said, those emerald tablets, those also say that the pyramids could generate power. So it's basically it's a resonator. It resonates with whatever energy you input into it, and it amplifies it and outputs it into the air. So whether it be light, electric, noise, sound, noise and sound are the same thing, but yeah.
Noise, sound, or noise and light, I guess you were trying to say.
Yeah, and Redacted did actually a huge portion on it as well. So I'll try to find theirs because they got a couple good graphics that basically show it all. Okay. So, and actually, we'll just watch the fucking thing while we're waiting on Dave to get here, and then
I think he's about to be back.
Has just announced a groundbreaking discovery beneath Egypt's Giza
we're
Plateau,
gonna
a vast
fast
complex of
forward
underground
through
chambers,
this till we get
shafts
to the
extending nearly 2
graphics.
kilometers under the
Oops, I did not
Yeah,
want to do that.
a
that's
team
a
of
hell of
researchers.
a fast forward.
Damn.
A team of researchers
I'm
has just
retarded,
announced a
folks.
groundbreaking discovery beneath Egypt's
Man.
Giza Plateau, a vast complex of underground
You
chambers,
said
This-
it,
shafts
not
extending nearly
me.
2 kilometers
It's
under the famous pyramids.
disability.
Italian and Scottish researchers claim they discovered a
I
vast
smoke a
underground
lot
city
of weed.
under the pyramids. It's an unbelievable story using synthetic aperture radar. So, and why now? Like, how they just discovered this now? Really? Jason Shurka is the host of the
So
Pyramid Code
they
on
were
TV.
using
He's been watching this very closely.
the sonars
So it's basically Star Trek sensors. So you remember Star Trek where they're like scan the planet and look for
Yeah.
subterranean. So this is like the technology that's close to that, and it's accurate within millimeters. So it is pretty much what it is. But it uses SAR, and it's he'll explain what SAR means. But
Yeah, if you have it
Yeah.
in 2 times, how we're supposed to understand it? You
yeah.
see,
Well, I'm going to
do
slow
it at
down. He's
1.5.
introducing. These are the
Do
hosts.
it at
Like
1.5.
they're not going to say much.
Do it at
And
1.5.
of course, has
Well,
a
I
lot of
just
thoughts
slow it
about this. So
down.
we invite Jason here on the show to talk about this and have a
There.
conversation. Jason, welcome
This
to the
guy.
show. Good to see you.
Thank you
Hi,
very much.
Jason.
Thank you for
Welcome.
having me.
All right. So when you heard this news, I guess, I mean, over the past few days, when the Italian video was released and you have to go through the subtitles and sort of unpack all of this. And I saw it on X. I said, I'm sorry, hold on a second. There's a massive underground city underneath Giza that's 3 kilometers deep, hundreds and hundreds of meters wide. Like, what? What did you think when you heard this?
So, what I'd like to do is actually break down a few facts for everybody because everybody's hearing this news from a bunch of different sources. Some is true, some isn't. Nobody really knows what to think. But what I thought when I first saw it was, thank God, finally somebody is speaking about this because what you're hearing now is nothing new. As a matter of fact, the study.
Yeah, this is confirming a lot of theories that people have been looked at like they're crazy, and it's also going to basically just knock the whole idea that we've never been as smart as we are right now completely out of the water. Like, you're full of shit. We had electricity, we had amplifiers, we had transmitters, we had technology that we even still to this day don't quite understand because we couldn't build the pyramids exactly. We don't know how they built them. We know they used technology far superior. and people want to say like, oh, they use trolleys and gears and levers. Like, no, not for 50-ton rocks and not to get it done and built in a lifetime. Definitely not.
So-called the research that these Italian researchers did. Their names are Corrado Malanga, I believe, and Filippo Biondi. They're both researchers in the radar and remote sensing research aspect of things. And they actually published a peer-reviewed study and their research in an article titled Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography
There it is.
Reveals
There's your SARS. Synthetic. Let's go back. Hear that again.
They researched in an article titled Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography.
Synthetic aperture Doppler radar technology.
Radar Doppler technology.
So I don't know why they just left the Doppler out because that's like really important, but whatever. They just took the like SAR.
Reveals details of undiscovered high-resolution internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. But guess when that was actually put out?
2022.
It wasn't a few days ago. That research was put out in 2022. So my question, number one, why are we speaking about it now if it came out in 2022?
It took a while for it to become disseminated, become viral, and become undisputed. Like, you can't dispute this at this point. Anyone trying to...
somebody, it got to somebody's ear, and they didn't... it just blew their mind.
Well, Egypt is phenomenally known for trying to stomp any kind of idea that they might be wrong about the history. Because like Israel doesn't have any pre-flood history. Like, they don't know how half of their hieroglyphics got up there.
Right. Well, that is a great question. Do you have an answer as to why we're just learning about this now? I mean, and I know you
Let's
have
get
documented all this
past
going back
this
years.
where
In fact,
I want to get into
there's recorded information going back to, I mean, where are we going down this? I
what
don't
it
know.
means.
But Billy Meyer
and
his Contact TV publications in 1953, and this is verifiable, by the way. This is copyrighted, verifiable information of Billy Meyer specifically talking about going underneath, being transported in a beam ship, and going underneath the pyramids in a massive underground chamber. You might laugh at it, but it was published in 1953. I mean, so why are we learning about this now, Jason?
So I'll cover both sides. I'll cover the factual side, and I'll cover the side that some people may call weird, but it's important to note because there are coincidences, and then there are things that just can't be coincidence. So factually, what happened over here is it's called SAR data, synthetic aperture radar data. Along with that came this proprietary software that was created by one of those researchers, the Italian researchers, And the way that it works is it transforms the radar signals that they're detecting into something called photonic information. Now, the simple way of explaining that is it tracks vibrations down to the millimeter to identify underground structures without excavation. So it's a very non-invasive way of being able to figure out what's deep.
So it's using like ultrasound basically, but in a radio slash.
So basically underground, out of water sonar.
Yeah, yeah. So
very non-invasive way of being able to figure out what's deep below us. Now, this research was done on the second largest pyramid of the Giza Plateau. It's known as the Khafre Pyramid. What they found was 5 identical structures inside the pyramid itself. But what was even more interesting than that is underneath those 5 identical structures were these 8 massive, they look like cylinders. Nobody really knows what they are. They found that they were hollow inside, and there's.
Here we go. All right.
So under them structures, there were these cylinders.
Yeah, you can kind of see them on there. So first, start it up here at the
So
top.
they weren't even pyramids that they were on top of. They're just structures.
What's that? So here's the pyramid right here, right?
Okay.
There's 5 king chamber like entrance and things inside
So
it that they didn't know
there's
about.
possibly 5 kings in there.
No, that's what they call the king's chamber, but there's never been a body ever found in the king's chamber, and there's never been any organic thing inside the sarcophagus. However, if you sit in it and hum a tune, you'll be able to hear it from anywhere on the plateau. It literally will resonate up through the holes, and you'll be able to hear it outside.
Oh, nice.
So, but
Okay.
you have 5 of those chambers identical in height, and they're positioned in a pyramid where there's one on each corner and one in the center. All right. And then underneath it, you have 8 cylinders that are hollow. They don't go all the way to the surface. You notice that this is important
Right.
here because this gap, it means something. And if you're trying to make an electrical circuit out of something or a pump, right? And then beneath those that you can't see on the screen, they might show it in the future here, are 4 huge square or cubed rooms that are just hollow, empty. And there's definitely a structure holding that cube in its place. So, and then you have this stairwell looking winding, but if you notice, they're all exactly the same. Look at this. Like, and this is based on their sign. This is based on the computed topography, or I don't think it would be called topography if it's underground. But anyways, this is basically what the algorithm puts together with the scans, and it finds they're all identical. They are exactly identical, you know. And what this reminds me of would be like a wire wrapped around a rod, like a copper rod. Like a Tesla coil, you might find that. You would have one huge conductor in the middle, and then you would have a perfectly symmetrical winding around it. Okay? You following along?
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
Howdy.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Gen X Dave, and this is Gen X and Beyond. Welcome to the show.
Hey,
We said that.
we've already
Except for
said
the
that.
Gen X Dave part. Yeah.
That's my 2 co-hosts being jackasses.
So we had. Do we need to catch you up on what was going on? Were you
No, I've been
preoccupied with
sitting
other
here.
things?
No, I've been sitting here listening while I was smoking a bowl with the wife.
Kind of. Probably.
No,
So then
look, I tuned it out when it got to Israel and Gaza and politics. I was like, yeah. That's not me.
It's not politics. It's world history happening right before our face. And there's lies on every side, and there's lies upon lies. It's a fucking circus. Anyways, but back to this
Okay, so
scientific
hold
shit.
on. You said lies upon lies upon lies upon lies, right?
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to believe anything these guys are saying?
Because when you see a picture of a dead child, and then you see another dead child, and you see another dead child, and a specific organization that tracks and looks at all these dead children says, hey, 100,000 children have died between Ukraine and Gaza, and that's the Foreign Ministry of Defense. And when they say that and nobody argues with that, that means a lot of children's souls have filled sacrificial altars in a spiritual sense. And to me, that's sad.
That's where
So,
you lose
and
me.
I don't really give a fuck about all the politics and who's in the right and who's in the wrong. All I care about is the innocent people that are being sent to God's altar right now. So, and I don't care what nationality, race, or religion they were, especially if they're too young to commit an atrocity that deserves to be wiped out and wiped off the face of the planet. But I mean, so like, I'm not on anybody's side. Anybody who's killing someone who doesn't deserve to be killed is someone I'm going to speak out against, and on every side. So I'm sure there's terrorists over there, and I'm sure there's a lot of terrorists on both sides because there's people doing ignorant shit to humanity. You know. So I mean, and we could go to X and pull up the pictures, and I mean, after about 4 or 5 dozen of them, you start to question whether or not it could be some kind of rigged, staged, fake thing. But especially when they don't argue it, they try to justify it instead of they don't deny that these children are dying. They try to justify it. So, and there is no justification. So
Okay. Back to the coils.
But yeah, this is actually more interesting to me because
This is
like,
not politics.
this doesn't sadden me about humanity or make me look forward to the day of the end. You know, this is like, oh my God, they've lied about history to us, and now we actually have proof right in front of us. Because so this right here, this chamber right here, this big chamber, these are hollow, and then the stairwells, all of them are identical. There's one, they're wrapped the exact same ratio around each one of them. That to me screams math, and that there's a specific pitch to this spiral that's intentional. Just like if I were to take an iron bar and wrap it with a copper wire, and I would count
So you
how many
think those are
turns
stairs?
so that I think they're double purpose stairs. I think they're chambers that spiral around, that they have the exact same amount of turns around the central core on purpose, because all of these pyramids we found a lot of mercury. Now you guys are familiar with mercury, right?
Yep.
All right. Do you know that mercury does not exist on this planet in its in the state that we know of it? It doesn't exist as a liquid thing. It's always an alloy mixed in with an ore. So for mercury to exist, somebody with the knowledge of mining and extracting mercury specifically would have had to have harvested it, right?
Okay.
You know, if your Minecraft doesn't have the mercury card, you're never going to get mercury out of a rock because you don't know how to do it. So these shafts could have been filled with mercury, and if they were filled with mercury, if you had a large amount of water that was in the central core, and it was tied to a tidal influence such as the Nile, as it was pre-flood, because let's remember, the Nile used to be so big and runs through so much of Africa that it would literally, you could see the tidal influence on the river, you know, back in the day before, Northern Africa was desert.
Yeah.
So you had tidal flow, and we've already found that there's aquifers and channels that run from the Nile all the way through the plateau, all the way underneath these pyramids. So now, if each one of those cores was filled with water, and the stairwells were filled with mercury, As the water moves up and down, it's going to change the electric potential within those wires of mercury. And based on how many windings there are around each core, it will multiply the voltage by how many wires there are. So, like for instance, here I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns. So if you put 1 volt of energy into this core, you would get 6 volts out. Make sense? So now there's 8 of them, right? So let's keep going and see if you find something else.
Surrounded by
Continue.
what looks like a coil. Some people are saying that the radar
Oh
seems to
wow,
show
looks
that
like a
there's
coil.
stairs bringing you down. And on the bottom of those cylinders, which by the way are 648 meters each, that's
648
massive,
meters.
let alone to put something underground 3,000-4,000 years ago.
So
Whenever that.
how much is that in feet?
So a football field is 100 yards or roughly 300 meters or 100 meters. Okay, so 1 meter is 3 feet. So if he's saying it's 600 meters, multiply that by 3, and that's how many feet you got.
It says your Google Ads account. It says your Google Ads account is still suspended. Why would that be? How do I look that up, Dan?
I don't know. I don't know, man.
All right, I'll figure it out.
On the bottom of those cylinders, you have 2 very large cubic structures that seem to be some sort of basement, like what you were just talking about that guy spoke about in 1953. Now, each cubic basement, I call them basements, nobody knows what they are, measure about 80 meters on each side. That's about almost a football field in terms of each side of that cube. These are massive structures underground. And the entire structure extends about, not exactly, but about 2 kilometers beneath the surface of all.
So now 2 kilometers is going to be significant too, because now the depth, you're also tapping into natural aquifers that are flowing under the bedrock outside of the Nile. So now you have 2 separate bodies of water, and you have a potential difference there.
All 3 pyramids of the Giza Plateau.
All 3 of them.
They're telling.
There was your answer, Moken.
What?
The identical thing is under all 3 of the pyramids.
Okay,
so the same structure is under each one of them.
Okay, and there's 8 of. So what would
there's
that
8 under
energy?
each.
What would that energy have to? Would that much energy create gravity?
I don't know. I don't know if it would generate gravity. It would generate light, electricity, or sound.
All gravity is
gravity. We don't quite know what gravity is yet. Like we think it's the fact that all bodies are like attracted to each other in space, and they end up orbiting each other. But like there's like I could show you physics videos where they try to explain gravity, and we don't quite know what gravity is.
Well, like I said, can't this like create like a magnetic?
I mean, theoretically, with
center?
enough energy, you can create your own gravity well. Geometrically, you can like spin things to trick people into thinking centrifugal force is gravity.
Right.
But I don't know about creating like a black hole type like a gravity well. I don't know. Gravity's
just a gravity pool.
Because I don't know. I still can't explain what gravity is really. I mean, everybody, I can give you the generic Newtonian description of gravity. It's our
Ain't that
attraction to
the
the Earth's
pull to the
core.
center of the earth? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Pull to
9.8
the center
meters
of the
per
earth.
second squared or something like that. Per second per second. It's an force that's measured as an accelerated force, not
Right.
a constant force.
Right.
And terminal velocity is when you've reached the fastest you can fall in the median that you're falling in. But gravity, the acceleration of gravity is constant.
Okay.
But I don't know the amount of energy needed to create like a gravity thing. Like I don't know. First, you
It'd
have to tell me
probably
what.
be astronomical. I mean,
It has to do
obviously,
with the core of the earth and the rotation of the earth.
and if this is going down so far, it has to do with something moving down there, be it water or lava or something.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I don't
mean,
know. When
moving
your
water is
moon has
energy.
gravity and it doesn't have all that stuff there. I mean, so far as we can tell, gravity has something to do with E equals mc squared. And it also has something to do with how objects move through space together. And things with more mass tend to pull other objects towards it in the space-time fabric.
Right.
Did you ever do anything in elementary school where y'all grab a parachute and you hold the parachute taut, and then there's balls that the teacher throws on, and you spin them and you
Right.
bounce them up in the air? That's supposed to give you a graphical representation of gravity, but that's only explaining like Newtonian's concept of gravity. We still don't understand what causes it, like specifically to where we can just create it ourselves.
Right.
The only way we can create gravity ourselves is to emulate it through through illusions, because
Yeah, because they have the fans that blow you,
they'll
kind
make
of
ring
like the
shaped.
skydiving thing,
Yeah, and in
or
sci-fi, where they make bases like Deep Space Nine was always rotating, and then it had
yeah,
a core that was counter rotating. But in the more near future, our own plans, they plan on making like huge circular stations that are always rotating. And the outer edge of the ring, it would be like a halo ring, you know? And the internal, like just like in the game Halo, yeah, actually, it's just like the ring in Halo. So,
everything's spinning but the platform.
correct. Well, the ring is spinning. The whole ring in Halo is spinning, but you on the surface are on the inside, and you can't even tell you're on a ring.
Right.
But anyways,
that, and this is at least what the textbooks tell us, how I grew up in school. The pyramids were tombs for these pharaohs that they wanted to honor. And they built them using ramps and sledges and hammers.
right.
Now, this just blows that theory and that history out of the water, because you don't.
Right, and that was the thing, is everybody's been saying the entire time, anybody with some common fucking sense to look at the math and be like, wait, you can't do that with
Yeah,
wooden
this
pulleys.
don't make sense.
Right.
I've
So
always said that don't make sense.
and then you look at the edges. There's edges on a sarcophagus, they called it, but it's not a sarcophagus. It's a huge stone. It's a huge onyx colored stone. And the top of it is so precisionally smooth and flat that we can't even, like, that size, we don't have the technology. There isn't what's that wire? The EDM. There isn't an EDM machine on the planet big enough to cut that way. You know what I mean? It's perfectly flat, and it's like 40 feet, and you use the meters to try to determine how rough the surface is, and it's off the scale smooth.
Hmm.
And the best machine shop in the country couldn't do that today.
build what we just spoke about with ramps and sledges and hammers. There's something else going on. But my question that we have to ask, and then we can go into the weird part, factually, the
As if that's
proportion,
not weird enough.
Right.
the proportions of the structure itself have certain mathematical constants built into them, like pi, 3.14, the golden ratio, and the most interesting one to me, modern science calls it a coincidence. I don't buy it. The speed of light.
Yep.
Now, how do we get the speed of light? The latitude line that the Great Pyramid is sitting on is 29.9792458 degrees. And if you just move that decimal by 2, you're going to get 299,792,458. And what that number is in meters per second is the speed of light. Now, call that a coincidence?
So, so what he's saying is it is exactly one light second away from the equator. So
That's a pretty quick second.
yeah, but it's exactly the distance away from the equator that it is exactly the distance that a particle of light travels in 1 second.
Right.
That's fucked up.
I don't think it's a coincidence. They knew something, and we don't understand how they knew it. But somebody.
And then looking further into that, the ratio of the size of the pyramid compared to the size of the Earth is the exact same ratio as the size of the Earth compared to the size of the moon. There's a lot of shit, a lot of math in the pyramid that like they shouldn't have even known at that time.
He's just saying they placed it to
I
this
wonder if
degree,
they're going to show the
6,
lower
7 decimal
base.
points after the zero to the exact point of the speed of light in meters per second.
Hey,
They knew something
hey,
Hey.
we
guys,
don't understand.
I got some bad news.
Huh?
Form of tech.
We have to have 1,000 subscribers
Yeah.
and over 40,000 valid public watch hours and 10 million valid public short views in the last 90 days.
What, before you can monetize or before you can promote?
YouTube partner program eligibility.
No, that's monetization. The promotions are separate.
Okay, so how do I get to that?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
I'm Stoner Dan right now, man. Tech Service Dan's clocked out at 5.
Oh my God, dude. So it's not in earn.
I'm Stoner Dan. Oh my God, the pyramids was a fucking literal power plant for real. It lit up during the fucking
Looks
day,
like it.
and then it delivered electricity wirelessly throughout the night. And like that explains why there's literally pyramids scattered to the north and the south of the equator all over the fucking planet. Like, because, and they were all built in roughly the same era as far as we've been able to tell. Like, they're all pre-flood. So they're all pre-Younger Dryas, whatever you want to call the 12,000 year ago flood that we had experienced.
That
we,
nobody can explain.
right. And we found pyramids underwater. We found mountains in Antarctica that don't really occur anywhere else on the planet in that shape, like that perfect
Right.
pyramid shape. Anytime there has, they've excavated and found out it's been a pyramid. China's littered with pyramids. There's literally dozens of pyramids along the equator area of China.
Yeah.
They also have a desert along the same area that's
Now,
just
do you
as fucking
think they
big as
have?
Africa's.
Do you think they have the same structures underneath them?
I'm thinking these were all power, like light LEDs, and the LEDs blew out, and we're like the carbon that's left over. Because when your light bulbs blow out, you have all that carbon dust floating
Right.
around inside there. So yeah, like I'm thinking, because look, the way it lines up to a second, right? If this thing was naturally harvesting light based on the different potential energies in like the tidal forces versus the electrical ground within the planet versus the sunlight hitting the piezoelectric layer that used to be wrapped around the pyramids, because there used to be a quartz piezoelectric wash over the entire pyramid coupled with a golden capstone. All those things are missing, but when you look at it as an electrical thing, that thing would shimmer brighter than anything in the middle of the dark
Right.
or the daylight. It would always be glowing. And if it was the only
So
artificial light, you would be able to see it from miles away.
so what if we put like I don't know,
It would also pulse.
like a reflection on it? Do you think we'd go extinct in like a certain amount of time?
I think these things blew the fuck up, man. Like, first of all, where's the mercury at? Like,
Yeah,
they've
but
found gallons.
you can always repair a light bulb.
They've found gallons. Yeah, you can, but not if the people who were occupying the area fried to a crisp when it happened.
Well, I mean,
Like, so
do we really want to try?
right, that's what I mean. Because look, so are they ever going to show the picture with the full basement? Because
brought
that's
with them
what
a different
I
form of
want to
technology called
get
electromagnetic pulsation.
that picture
And
on
this technology
here.
gave them the ability to build massive pyramids. Underneath these massive structures are very large basements that house the tools and technology used to make them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
to my
I
knowledge,
know.
no one has found these basements of the pyramids
Nobody
according to
knows
the
how it
technical
happened.
So he thinks that underneath there is the tools that's
Yeah, he
able
thinks
to
they
make.
stored. Yeah, he thinks the tools that they used to make it are actually still down there, stored in in those chambers. And I don't know. He's taking that based off the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And that's a 2 hour that's a 2 hour thing that you can't just like give you any kind of discussion about it. Like Thoth. Like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are what said all this shit was here. And the book that you can read called the Emerald Tablets of Thoth was written in the 1800s. And it was supposedly deciphered off of these tablets that then disappeared after they were done being read. And it's been said that like Egyptian sects are hiding them in some kind of dungeon or somewhere, but the text themselves said that they will transmute through time automatically as they're programmed to do. And he basically says that like there's huge caverns underneath the actual pyramids. There's something called the Halls of Amenti, where you can find the Akashic records. The Akashic records is the electronic record of time that you can like literally go back through all the time and look at anything you want, and it's basically a recording of time. And it's an electromagnetic thing that it's constantly being recorded. So, and we already have something like this. We call it the Infinite Library. It's on the internet. So if y'all want to go look up the infinitelibrary.org and check it out, and then write in the search bar any gibberish you can think of. Literally, you don't even have to be real words. It can just be whatever, and press enter on your search engine. It will go to a book to where what you wrote was in that book, and it was written in that book, that electronic book, years ago. You can sit here and take the transcript of this very episode. Go ahead and do it, by the way. There's 2 people watching. There's probably going to be 5 or 6 people who watch later. Go to get the transcript of this episode and go to infinitelibrary.org and upload the entire transcript, and it will, I guarantee you, it will go to a book that was written at least 5 years ago by this library that has every word we said in this podcast in it. Now, to really blow your mind, say, Dan, that's fucking nuts. You're wrong. Now add that to the end of your shit. And I bet you still find where all those words were written in that fucking library. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's basically writing your story before you do it.
It's an algorithm that
Or
they started
as you
back
do
in the
it.
80s. It's an algorithm they started back in the 80s that just writes. It just writes. And it writes gibberish and it writes random, but it can never write the same page or book twice. And at one point, it said complete. I think it was like back in 2012. It said it was complete, meaning that everything that could ever be said in any sequential order is written in the book already somewhere. Everything, even gibberish. In fact, there's like literally book after. If you try to randomly browse it, don't, because you'll get lost in the sea of gibberish. But if you put something coherent in the search bar, you will find 6, 7, 8, maybe 50 books that already have exactly what you wrote in it somewhere, including the transcript of this episode all the way up to this point, including everything I told you to, like, literally. It's insane, dude. I've tried it. I've recorded a day's worth of conversations, transcribed them, and went to this fucking library and found at least 4 or 5 books that had that a whole entire day written down already. So that's what the Halls of Amente was in the Emerald Tablets, but it wasn't a cloud thing. It was in the earth.
Right.
All right. Well, Dan, it's past your bedtime.
Fuck off. You ain't my daddy. So, but yeah, that's what they found. That's what they found underneath the pyramids. Is they found out that this shit is not a myth. It's not made up. And the dude who wrote about it in the 1800s knew what the fuck he was talking about. And when Tesla said that the pyramids were amplifiers and resonators and oscillators, and he meant it. He meant that it did all those things. It amplifies, resonates, oscillates, and generates electricity, light, and sound. And if you don't have any light and you don't have any tides, you can sit your ass in the sarcophagus and go, and if you match the right fucking pitch, you can actually make the fucking pyramid glow. Back in the day when it had its piezoelectric layer on the outside of it, capped with a gold capstone.
And I bet a king got down there, did that, and fried everybody.
I don't know. According to the Emerald Tablets, so the Emerald Tablets were right when they said there was shit underneath the pyramids, including the large caverns, right? So, like, let's use that. What does it say happened? It says that a comet hit the planet, sunk Atlantis, destroyed the power grid of the planet, knocked the planet off of its perfect axis, and we're in like a new age because of it.
And what does it say about the new age?
It doesn't say a lot about it. It doesn't make it. See, it doesn't make it as like a big deal. We're a blip. We're a drop in the water. When it talks about the age.
So, like you said, and I mean, we could be the carbon resonance. So,
yeah, like we're the carbon residue with like the spirits of divine things. We're the animated fucking. I don't know. It's insane. We are carbon-based life forms.
yeah.
And I mean, but humans have been around long before the the pyramids if we have researched here. You know, humans
Yeah,
have been
man,
around for
damn.
3 or 4 million years.
But comets hit the Earth, sunk Atlantis.
And according to Toth, we were all hunter-gatherer fucking tribal people for literally hundreds of thousands of years before the comet hit. That sunk Atlantis and fucked up the power grid. But, you know, and we are at a 23-degree tilt. Our poles do flip. We know our poles flip. We can measure it in the historical record of the
Even this guy that I'm
rock.
about to mention that Dan does not like, who
I
I
don't. Neil deGrasse
think
Tyson
he's
isn't
pretty.
a fucking
He
scientist,
even
dude.
sat there and said that if you go back in and
I
look
know.
as far as back as weather has been recorded, he
I'm
was
sorry,
like, and
Neil.
if you watch, he said, if you watch it, you can see our axis moving.
You're more
And
you're
he said, as
more
far as back it
educated
was
than I
here.
am, Neil. I'm sorry, but like you were supposed to be a physicist and you dropped out for this astrophysicist shit, and like you're a media personality, but I guess that's what I am too, sitting on here, right?
Right.
But yeah, and you're right. He does. He knows the tilt axis is tilted, and
Yeah,
it
he
wasn't
knows
always.
it's moving,
And the
he
poles are
says
shifting.
it'll
But,
continue to move.
but that idiot thinks it's going to take 1,000,000 years for it to shift, even though it's literally moved miles in our lifetime. It's moved like 300 miles in our lifetime.
Okay, and how long do you think it's gonna actually?
And they've been measuring it for all of map keeping. So pretty much since we've had global maps, round maps, they've been measuring where north is in comparison. And like, dude, no, what? I'm sorry. What did you ask?
Once it flips, then we're gonna have another. You think we're gonna have another massive flood?
I don't know. We have so many.
Cause,
We have
cause,
so
'cause
many fucking disasters on this planet in the
then
long span of it.
Hey,
north
look at
would
it like
be
this. Hey,
east.
listen. I'm going to explain it to you like this, Smoking. Okay, say we're right here now. Okay,
Yeah,
all right. But during the Ice Age, let's hypothetical this shit because I'm not an astrophysicist or a scientist. Say that we were like this during the Ice Age.
right. That's what I'm
The South
saying.
Pole was actually east and west. Let's say that happened during the Ice Age, and that's what caused the Ice Age. Let's just say that happened, right?
You're blurry,
Now we went from this to this. We don't know if it goes. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if it continues to rotate in that direction, which is the direction it's going, if it gets like this, the question is, will it be an ice age or will it be a complete fucking overheated, saturated fucking planet and do the exact opposite?
That's my point. So
it depends.
So whenever it basically turns sideways, you're gonna have the top and bottom freeze, and the two frozen pieces melt.
It all depends because the central core of the planet moves independently of the shell and the crust. So the mandible and all that shit, they're fluid.
Which is lava.
Right, well, we think it is, yeah, and we're pretty sure it is with the
Pretty
way
sure
we
it
shoot
is.
X-rays and cosmic rays through the planet. We're pretty sure it is.
Right.
But
the new technology
what
called
we're able to do is
LIDAR.
measure the density of the planet.
The new technology of LIDAR, they have found out that in most cases of most volcanoes, that's where the lava comes from, is right there at the center point of the Earth.
LIDAR is a surface scanning.
LIDAR, what it does is you could take a surface scan, and then it takes it down layer by layer.
Yeah, they look at
layer
features
by layer.
but they can't look inside, and the crust
No,
goes for
they're
miles.
just doing what they can from the out, from the not
Yeah,
from
but
through the top. They only did around the sides of the volcano to see if they could pick up traces of cores and where it leads down to. Where does the lava come from? And they've been using a lot of new technology.
There's cosmic ray detectors that detect the cosmic rays from the sun when they're in the full darkness. So meaning they're directly opposed to the sun.
Yep.
And they're able to basically determine the density of the inner core. But it's not a science like CT is.
Right.
Because the source of your X-rays, the source of your cosmic rays is the sun, and it's literally millions of miles away. And your detector is just this little small point on the planet that you've built your station. That like Japan has one, Australia has one, America has like 3 or 4, but they're basically like deep underground chambers that are far away from extraterrestrial influence, and they're filled with water, and they got all these acoustic devices, and they can see fucking cosmic rays, gamma rays and shit, muons flying through the planet. It's fucked up. They can actually but it's not like a CT scanner where like they can look at your brain and see the individual folds or how much air you have in there. They so you know where to stick
that's enough.
But I don't know what's in it. I'm kind of a hollow earther conspiracy theorist. That's like kind of
so you think the Earth is hollow in the center?
I don't, but I believe it's possible. So
that's where the last great man stands, Zion.
Huh? Zion?
Yeah, Zion's down there.
Zion ain't on Earth to me. It's biblical.
That's the last great stand of humanity against the machine. Watch The Matrix.
Well, but then you have the alien crafts that are hiding in our oceans.
Shut up.
Like Matrix took all their names straight out of the Bible. There's Nebuchadnezzar, there's Zion, there's Morpheus. These are all Neo. Like most of the characters and places.
There has been proof of lights going in and out of our ocean.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like Agartha, lizard people, the Aryan race, all those things. I think they could be possible, but I'm not like a believer. Like I'm a believer that the Earth is round. I'm not going to argue it. I'll argue that the Earth is round.
I think it was possible that Bush Sr. was a lizard person.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the V. Okay, so we're closing out the season. Here we go. This is the V. Mocha's full of shit. I don't know what Dan's talking about. They lost me because I missed half the show. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Gen X Dave and Gen X and Beyond. My two co-hosts, Only the Lonely and Mocha 420. We're fucking
We're not
out of here.
either in the direction that he pointed.